Morning. Welcome. Let me welcome at this time all of you all to the session that we have here today. I want to acknowledge the presence of Honorable Senator Gloria Thomas, who's responsible for the Division of Social Development, Housing, and Gender Affairs. This particular event really comes directly under her purview and oversight. And so I think we owe her department a round of applause for the work that they have put into this. I want to acknowledge the Parliamentary Secretary, Honorable Merrick Richardson from Anguilla, who is with us today also. I want us to recognize Ms. Chrissy Worm Charles, Director of Social Development, and she has all of these people here making us comfortable. Yes. All the business owners, delegates, students, all. And of course, I want to recognize, you'll see a gentleman moving back and forth like a busy bee. His name is Anderson Richardson. We want to also appreciate him so much. So just before I invite Anderson to come forward for the welcome, I want to say that we've had a late takeoff with this flight, and as a good pilot, we'll have to make up with time in the air. So we are going to be asking as we go along, we're going to be pushed up for time to see if we could land as close as possible to our prescribed time of touchdown. Okay? So at this time, Mr. Anderson Richardson is going to give us a welcome.
Good morning. Honorable Philip Telesford, Minister of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. Senator the Honorable Gloria Thomas, Minister for Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. Honorable Lennox Andrew, Minister of Economic Development, Planning, Tourism, ICT, Creative Economy, Agriculture, Lands, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. Honorable Joachim Henry, Minister for Equity, Social Justice, Empowerment, St. Lucia. Honorable Ministers and officials from other various states, Permanent Secretaries, Ms. Ann Isaac, Permanent Secretary with responsibility for community development and housing. Mrs. Veronica Charles, Permanent Secretary acting with responsibility for social development and gender affairs. In the Ministry of Social Development, Community and Housing and Gender Affairs. Honorable Merrick Tyrone Richardson, Honorable Parliamentary Secretary with responsibility for sustainability, innovation, environment, sports, Anguilla. Ms. Kimolai Murphy, Gender Development Coordinator, Ministry of Social Development, Education, Anguilla. Assemblyman Terence Baines, Secretary for Community Development, Youth Development, Sports, Tobago. Assemblyman Sonny Craig, Assistant Secretary for Health. Other foreign delegates represented here, members of the media, viewers on our various social online platforms, our Grenadians represented in this room, a pleasant good morning to all. It is with great pleasure I stand here as the head of the Men's Bureau in Grenada to welcome us all to the business talk, actually our men's business talk today. This initiative, I believe, is going to create a lot of opportunities for discussion, and I want to invite us all to really sit back and partake, and let's engage this with all of our might this morning. I am happy to have each and every one of you represented here, and as we move forward in our discussions today, I wish us a very productive and a pleasant one. Once again, welcome everybody, and thank you very much.
We call him the man himself. Yes, Anderson. At this time, I want to welcome the Honorable Senator Gloria Thomas to come and give you a few words. And of course, I'm sure that she'll say some things that would be able to directly resonate with us as she usually does. At this time, Honorable Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Honorable Philip Telesford, Minister for Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. Honorable Joachim Henry, Minister for Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment, St. Lucia. Other honorable ministers and officials from the various states represented. Our permanent secretaries, Mrs. Ann Isaac, permanent secretary with responsibility for community development and housing. Mrs. Veronica Charles, permanent secretary with responsibility for social development and gender affairs in the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. Members of the Senior Management Board, Mr. Merrick Tyrone Richardson, Honorable Parliamentary Secretary for Sustainable Innovation, Environment and Sports from Anguilla. Kimoloy Jessica Murphy, Gender Development Coordinator, Ministry of Social Development and Education, Anguilla. Assemblyman Terence Baines, Secretary for Community Development, Youth Development and Sports from Tobago. Assemblyman Sonny Craig, Assistant Secretary for Health. Other foreign dignitaries, specially invited guests, our distinguished presenters, students, participants in general, members of the media, good morning to all. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be here after missing out on 2 days of activities. I was out of state, I only got in here last night, and I felt it necessary to be here being the minister with the gender brief. And so I think this exercise or this engagement is one that is very important for us in this time in our history. This regional seminar is the first for us here in Grenada, and I think it is a very important exercise to set the tone to bring men on board a little bit more in an engaging way. We believe that it is necessary to provide a platform for men to share their experiences, to voice their concerns, and to come out and say to us things that they would like us to do to address their concerns. Because we cannot plan for men if they are not involved. And so we think it was necessary to institute this exercise over the few days to ensure that we have men on board and we have their concerns at heart. We want to ensure that what we do for them is relevant and what we do for them is meaningful. And so we have decided to bring men together to discuss those issues. Earlier this year, at the community level, we organized a men's seminar, and it was held in one of the schools in St. Andrew. And we had 2 resource persons coming in to be with our men, share with them. We looked at men's health and way that men could be a little bit more involved in the family. And this was a very revealing exercise because men spoke out, men shared with us some of the reasons, some of the barriers that they face when they try to be, be what they should be and do what they should do. And this exercise really was very instructive because we at times make judgments, we at times take things for granted without listening to our men. And I said this platform here will provide that opportunity for us to engage a little bit more fully with our men. As a ministry, we realize it is time to give men some more attention because men matters. Over the years, most of our program was, when we talk gender, we talk women and girls. And we realize that we are leaving our men behind. So this is a stock taking for us. And we want the best to come out of this session. We want men to be open. We want us to listen and to see how we could fix things going forward. I noticed a young man from my constituency posted a picture of this banner which suggested that he was here. So I did not lose the opportunity to respond. And I sent him a text. And he replied, asked, how was it? I said, I noticed he was at the men's conference. How was it? And this was his reply, and I'm quoting the comments. He said, it was an amazing experience. I hope that there are more sessions like this one in the making, and that we do not only wait on Men's Day to do it. And this young man is a young man from the Dunfermline area. He's Glendon Joseph. And I felt very much, yes, I felt very much impressed. Yes. So as we embark on this business segment, I trust that all persons who are viewing and those who are here will find some valuable information and insights that will give them some ideas as to how they can probably consider business or improve the business if they already have a business, or get together and discuss with men the importance of probably getting into business. We know government can provide jobs for everybody, and we want to see most of our young men off the blocks. So business, the way of business, is a very important avenue to address some of the deficiencies in the societies. So with these few words, I just want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you for being here, and I trust that this day's activity will be one where we will get some information that will help us as men to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Senator. And just to let you know, she is highly vested in this event. She has 2 sons. And I might dare say, in her words, handsome sons. Let me ask the Honorable Parliamentary Secretary Merrick Richardson to come forward and also share with you a few words coming all the way from Anguilla. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Good morning. Protocol already being established. I proceed. First of all, let me say what a pleasure it is to be here in Grenada. It's my first visit. It was on my bucket list of Caribbean islands to visit, and so far I have not been disappointed. Coming in for this men's conference, I've been totally impressed thus far. What has struck me so far is that no matter if you come from an island of 15,000 persons like I do, or whether you come from one of the bigger islands, we all have the same issues. We all have the same problems. The other thing that impressed me was the passion that these men, you guys spoke with. I was so impressed. I've been taking notes. Like, there's not a village anymore, and that a diminished man is more of a danger than an empowered man. And those are things that I'm going to be taking back with me to my country to try to empower our males as we go forward. We know we all suffer the same problems, and I hope that this is just not the one conference, it's just not a one-off, and this will be something continued. I've already spoken with Ms. Morphy, and I'm sure that she will invite me to the next one. And again, it's a pleasure for me to be here in Grenada. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. 15,000 people on an island. Boy, I'd love to experience that. There's an island called Statia that I understand. I don't know how many they have now, but at the time when I found out about Statia, Statia has 2,000 people. If you call one ball game, nobody's at home. 2,000 people. Yeah, so that must be a wonderful experience to be on. So thank you very much for your kind words. Okay, so we've been cleared for takeoff. We have the official part over, and we thank you so very much, and we appreciate all that they have shared with us. I think what we'll know, you have them, but now join the audience so that those who are speaking will come forward. So, we have the manufacturing industry going to be represented. We have the supermarket represented and the automotive industry represented. So, we have Mr. Edward Jones, and he's the managing director of GMAC Industries. Yes? When we say Edward Jones has a big heart, we mean it literally. Thank you very much. And Edward Jones is into manufacturing. He's a member of the Manufacturing Association, structural engineer and chemical manufacturer. Now we have Mr. Kenny Lalsing, who is one of your indigenous businessmen, past member of parliament in Patrick West, past president of the Senate, owner Calico Trading, registered in 1982, wholesale retail operations with 4 locations and 1 distribution, 3 markets. That's an awesome accomplishment. But I've heard about the Grenadians. I hear that they're very, very progressive and industrious. Next up in line is Mr. Rundle Fields, owner of Millennium Auto Dealership, Vice President of Trinidad and Tobago Automotive Dealers Association, and not necessarily part of this, but he's also the president and founder of Men's Fathers Association. Let's give him a round of applause. Each person is going to be given 15 minutes to present, and then we will entertain questions. We'll give a short period of time for questions after each of them, and then we'll have a break, and then we will come back. So make sure that your questions are pointed. Try to write them down so that you could be able to address them as they come. We are at this moment at cruising speed. So therefore, let me first of all ask Mr. Edward Jones to kick off the baton. All right. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure. You're all hearing me well, right? Okay, good. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. I tell you, I am now a Grenadian for sure, right? My assemblymen and they, if you all want and you want to revoke the passport, that's... But guys, you know, it's really a pleasure to be here. And one of the reasons why I think this session is so important to us is that I remember once growing up at high school. I went to Bishop's High School in Tobago, and one of the things is that one of the things about that particular school is that the social awareness of the school was very, very high. So one of the things that happened is that the girls were saying that we were going to be taking over all your jobs very soon. So even then, we knew that girls had this agenda that whatever the boys had at school, they were going to do it. And we said, no problem. I remember saying that no problem if you all want to take over the jobs because we're just going to own all the businesses, right? And I didn't know at the time that I was being a bit prophetic, right? But the truth is that I got into the world of work, and but I didn't really stay because I always had this particular drive. Now, let me tell you, I said all of that to basically start my story, and I know I have 15 minutes, and I have to condense a few years into 15 minutes. And I know that I have people who already tell me that I'm long-winded, my so-called friends, right? So as a result of that, I'm just going to get right into it, and I hope that this is going to inspire you. Around the age of 10 years old, my father told me we had to go somewhere, and actually it was to go to the port in Tobago because I grew up in Tobago, where a truck was coming in with some chemical products, with some detergent products. I went, and as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old around that time, I went and I helped them offload the truck. And of course, you know what an 11-year-old can do. Most likely just carry one box and be a nuisance. But I was pretty much at the time very interested in terms of what was happening. It was my uncle who happened to be at the time one of the leading manufacturers of detergent products in Trinidad, had decided to make its foray into the island of Tobago in terms of some products. But I didn't know all of that at the time. So we offloaded the truck, and I saw this big truck with all of this product, and I said, wow, this is going to be so much product, I guess. You know, in my head, I'm thinking, well, the next time I'd see something like this might be next year. But 2 weeks or 3 weeks after, the truck came again. So I said, but what happened to the product before? He said, well, it was used up. So I said, serious? I said, and then I asked my uncle, it must be really, really hard to make this chemical. And he said something that I never forgot. He said, everything is difficult if you don't know how to do it. Right? I have never forgot that in my life. Right? And at the same time, he did something else. He offered me, at 10, 11 years old, he offered me and said, listen, do you want to learn how to make dishwashing liquid? At the time, I said yes. Who wouldn't say yes? Right? It's chemicals, it's danger. It's things that your mommy obviously didn't want you to do. So obviously it's attractive to a boy, naturally. So we went, and at the age of 12, I had started actually manufacturing detergents, dishwashing liquid and stuff primarily. But what I did is that I took it from a different perspective because I was still at school. So when I was in first form in Bishop's, I was exuberant. And to sometimes avoid myself getting into trouble or to get into the likable arms of my teachers, especially females, I would mix dishwashing liquid for them and say, Miss, hi, this is for you. Tell me how you like it and that kind of thing. So my teachers never at the time used to have to buy dishwashing liquid because there was a young student who was making it for them at the time. I left there, and I decided that what I was going to do is that, of course, I had to go through school. And then, of course, when you're going through school as a boy, there is the agenda of your parents. You have to do what your parents wanted. So I eventually graduated and went to the University of the West Indies, where I studied mechanical engineering. I came back out of there, and I went to work with the Tobago House of Assembly as an engineering technician at the time, because there was no position there for, me at the time. And I worked there for several years. I had totally forgotten about my desire to do chemical engineering and all of that. And I was now full-fledged, my whole heart, into serving the Tobago House of Assembly as in the field of that. And then Study Park, I was working at Study Park, and Study Park at that time had a problem because, as we progress in life, certain things that were not a problem before become problems. And that's one of the reasons why we are in this room, because we are here to solve problems. Right? That's the desire of any entrepreneur, to solve problems and get rich doing it. Right? So what happened is that at one time the United Nations, or one of those bodies that annoy us, could I say that? We just extradite that. Decided that the quarry that we are working, the dust, there was, the elimination of dust, and that became an issue because obviously the quarry is running for years. And how do we now solve the dust problem? One person thought that if we sprayed water on it, it will reduce the dust. However, unfortunately, the water would also just cause the aggregate to get wet, and therefore it can't. So I decided that what we're going to do, let's work a chemical solution to it. And then, of course, I developed a chemical compound that just sort of increases the surface area of the air and causes dust if it goes through the air to drop quickly, right? And I was a very young man when I did that, and I never made any money while I did that because, of course, if I was maybe somebody else, I would have been a millionaire today, right? However, that was something that we had done, and it had, again, rekindled my interest in the chemical part of life. However, and this is perhaps where one of the learning points are. There's a challenge sometimes for all of us that there is something called a salary, and that thing called a salary is what, in many cases, keeps us as people of the islands down because we think that a salary is secure, and it prevents us from actually targeting the God-given talents and gifts that we have. So when I formulated this chemical, I decided to sell it to the THA because obviously it's the THA that needed it. The person in charge of the division at it, or the Tobago House of Assembly, right? Sorry. Right? What had happened is that obviously I now had a choice to make because the person who was in charge then told me, well, here's what. Because we can't buy from you and employ you at the same time, you had to make a choice. Whether we are going to buy your product and we're going to have to fire you, or if you're going to stay with us and we'll get your product for free. When I thought about it, I said, maybe I should just, I know the little money I had coming was secure. So that's how I went at the time. However, God has a way of being able to manage things for us even when we dotish. Right? You know what dotish means in Grenada, right? Same as stupid, right? Right? So the thing is that, however, as I continued, I went on and I did now structural engineering with the University of London. And when I came back, I recognized that they had put me in charge now of international contractors that used to come in and do work for the Tobago House of Assembly. And in working with them, I realized that all of them were more stupid than me. But they were getting far more money than I was getting. Right? You know how the governments work, when you bring them in, they have to justify bringing them in. So might as well pay them a lot of money, but they were doing a lot of the stuff that I could have done for free or for a little bit. And then what I decided to simply do is that I said, let me leave the THA at that time and pursue my career as a businessman. That was indeed the first mistake but good thing that I did, because obviously where I thought that they were willing to pay all these foreigners to come in big money, they decided to never pay me at all. So the challenge of business started with me then, and then I went in to form another company by the name of New Impact Solutions Limited. That was an engineering company that did a lot of stuff like help build communities like the Plymouth community. Well, there's a community, the housing community in Plymouth called housing community called Plymouth. So my company was instrumental in things like that. And yeah, so basically that's where it is. And then eventually we did flow back into the field of chemicals where just at the right timing, the support brand of chemicals that I manufacture became very much a thing in Tobago and Trinidad. I'm thankful for that. But as I said, we will, I guess in the question and answer time, because I don't want to overrun my time, because I feel the glaring eyes. Is it 15 minutes already? I'm sure it's just about 5 minutes. Thank you. Right, okay. But that's basically the start. Thank you.
Ted is my good friend, very, very good friend. Doesn't he have an awesome story and journey? Let's give him a round of applause. So, one of the things they said that I'm responsible to do is to give the recap so that we now open up the questions. But that part about him being introduced to chemicals at 11 years old by his father, one of the things I recognize is that many boys learn something from their fathers. And why we do not have so many boys with a career is because they did not have a father to introduce them. There's a gentleman I met who is in steel fabrication. It's because he used to go with his father when his father was making them. A guy who's a mechanic says the reason he's in mechanic now is because he was there when his father fixed it. But the guys who are in prison are those without a father who did not have something to mentor. So therefore, crime is the only thing because the gang is their mentor. So I think that was very powerful for me as you shared it. We open it up now for some questions from the audience to Ted Jones, a man who has taken his journey. One of the things you'll get is you'll hear the glory of their success and the agony of their defeat. Yes, sir. Okay. You need to come. So the next person with a question, could you just line up here for speed of...
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'll be very brief. My name is Colin Campbell. My first question, I'm sure you're well aware, how can we encourage Grenadians to practice group economics? Because with group economics, that's the only way for us to build generational wealth, especially in business. That's my first question. Two, how do we address the issue of succession planning? One of the issues that we have businesses, homegrown businesses, but it dies with the founder. The children does not take it up. That's the second question. And the next one of the issues that I have, whenever I ask questions to people that, business people who have, investments and land and property and so forth, when you ask them for advice, they don't want to freely give it. Mm-hmm. How do we address that? Because if we don't mentor the next generation, and it comes from a place of maybe selfishness, I would say. How do we address those three things?
Okay, thank you. Well, in terms of the generational, let me do the last one first as I remember it fresher in my memory. I sometimes businessmen, I would tell you this because it's my experience. First and foremost, there are businessmen that are going to hoard their secrets, but in the main, I notice that once you are enthusiastic, you make the greatest friends. Businessmen are, in fact, the most fantastic networks. Every businessman is of no real benefit to a businessman to keep his secrets. I'm pretty sure I met Mr. Kenny Lansing this morning, and the very first thing we met and we spoke about is coming together and networking, right? So that always happens, I think, with businesses. What a businessman can recognize very fast is a person who will waste his time, right? And sometimes too, what happens is it's not necessarily at this. But let me give you an example. For example, I will get in a day, most of the calls that I will get in a day is for something that can actually detract you from the mission that you want, right? And what you find you have to do is that for you to actually divert yourself from that mission you on, has to somehow come to that is diverted. No, an businessman is a natural investor, right? Now, with regards to the concept of generational wealth, I recognize, as Michael said, that for me, I learned something from my uncle, and I was able at 12 years old to take it and run with it. Even when my mother said, boy, I don't want you inside of them kind of things. Those chemicals are strong and whatever. The thing is that because he obviously saw my passion, I was able to pursue it. Remember, I have other brothers. I have other cousins. They didn't pursue it. I did, right? So that is one. And in terms of the generational wealth, I have two daughters. And I would tell you this. I have bottles of chemicals home that my daughter, when she was 4 years old, made. Now, I am in the field of household detergents and chemicals and those type of things. She decided that she wanted to make a hand cream. That's not what I do. But at 4 years old, she decided that she's going to see what her daddy did and made it now, of course, you can't use it. But the bottom line is that it is something that just shows her interest. And if you ask her now what she wants to be, I want to be a chemist like daddy. So you find now that so I am thinking that when I pass on, right, that at least I have daughters but I have no sons. Well, I kind of have sons. Well, do I have sons? I don't know. But
City single father.
right? But really, the thing is that at least you're able to give them that and hope for the best by being a good example to them, right? And that's, I think, the best we can do. Okay, so the group economics is, again, something that I'm now only learning. And the reason for it is that I know personally that I have had serious trouble getting financing for anything. It is the worst, right? To do this is the worst. Let me tell you how I got financing for the chemical business. After I spent all I had, sold all my cars, sold everything to start, and still couldn't actually get the mobilization, a guy came to me, a gentleman just like Kenny Lassing, came to me and said, you know what? Do not try to invest your money to sell the product. Invest your money to create such a beautiful prototype that people would want to buy the product and invest in the product. And that's what I did. And I said, I wish he told me that before I sold everything.
Yes. Thank you. One of the reasons we have been proud of TED is because when TED came out with the product of chemicals of support is the name of it, that's when COVID hit. So a lot of the hospital that we had in Tobago gained from it, and a lot of people came at the right time for people to be using sanitizers. So let's give him another round of applause. Any other question for Ted? Okay. Yes, sir.
Morning to everybody. My brother, how you doing?
I'm good, my brother.
As you are Trinidadian, Tobagonian, Trinidadian, we talk about secretiveness in business. Can you throw a little light on how the steel band industry has suffered from the secretive thing, like one tuna? Yeah, the steel pan business.
How that song does go?
Thank you.
I don't know. But maybe it's such a secret because I don't know how to play pan. Right. Yes. Right. That's a fact. Yes. And I remember there's a song with that was really well written by, I think, this guy died recently. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah. I can't. This guy. The fellow who sang the pan song. No, not that one. But all of those are actually representative character songs that kind of represent that, in fact, the steel band in itself has suffered from some secrets that we just definitely need to carry on. But the reason why I think it had to be secretive up to this time is because personally, our government may have been a little bit slow in patenting a lot of the stuff. So as a result of that, until it's patented and you can benefit from the knowledge of it, you kind of have to keep it a secret.
But if I could jump in, because the questions I'm warming up to. You understand? Yeah, you take it early. Yeah. I would say when it comes to steel, but I know many people, Lenny Booksy Shop, Gills, Pan Shop, many of them keep it amongst their family, and as he said, pass that generational knowledge. Because you have to pass the generational knowledge to the offspring, so the offspring understand the genesis of where it came from. So they have an understanding and a value for the struggle. And when you do that, then it means something to them. And then they now could carry it forward for you. So, but I do know persons in the steel band industry who've passed it to their families. But what may be the issue? You might have a good tuner, and the tuner want to be an employee forever. The tuner don't want to develop his own business strategy and develop his own business and pass it to his children after. So when he dies, his skill dies with him. just like a good plumber, just like a good tileman, just like a good carpenter, because he hasn't been able to transcend from employee to businessman and develop a business structure beyond his life that could actually be passed to his generation after him, then his skill and his talent dies with him and isn't passed throughout. So that is how you lose generational wealth as well. Yeah, we warming up here, Michael. Come on.
And I wonder if it's not also cultural, because we were taught the reason why we used to do schoolwork in school, we positioned ourselves like this. And we wrote so that the person next door does not see what we write in. We were taught to do that. We were taught that we're not supposed to share the homework. If somebody didn't come to school, we're not going to tell them what the homework was. It's not until I was in Mona, Jamaica, when I was doing at the university, where the lecturer said, share everything you have. Everybody can leave here with a certificate of honors. And I never knew everybody could. I thought it has, if you have A, somebody must get B. But we all can get A. So I think it was a cultural thing that we need to break out of. And by the way, the reason my handwriting is so poor today is because I thought if I wrote it in a way that it is unreadable, somebody cannot be able to tell what I wrote. It also allowed me, when the teacher asks an answer, I could either justify that the answer that she just gave is what I just wrote.
But Michael, again, to play devil's advocate, right? I mean, as a businessman, there is a competitive nature. So yes, I understand the value of sharing a principle, but an idea that innovatively, or a strategy that I may have taken the time to formulate, that it is mine and it is personal, that I have, through my experience, allowed myself to advance ahead of you. I'd like my intellectual property.
Yeah.
Why must I just give it away? I will give you the principle, possibly of how I got there and things that I look at. But your strategy, you must develop for yourself. That is my view in a business that I am involved in, where I have 500 competitors.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to remain relevant. You understand? I have to keep competition going.
So there's a balance to it.
Yeah, I think what he's talking about is the same thing that I think. I mean, nobody knows this trade secrets of why, for example, the
Angostura
support brand works the way it works in terms of how Angostura works.
Mm-hmm.
However, the business principles,
Right.
which is what I think my brother was asking about.
It's helping people
yeah.
along the way.
So you work, because that's what we hope to be doing today. We hope to be sharing business principles so that, we benefit, yeah?
All right. Nicely. Thank you very much. All right, so we've exhausted the questions for Ted. Yes, sir. Yeah, but we're not getting you on the microphone, and I think you are saying some things that we should hear.
No. I just wanted to say that as business owners, as entrepreneurs, it's important that we trademark our intellectual property. Oftentimes, we see this, that we may be in a position where we have a product or idea that we want to bring to market, but we don't want everybody to jump on the product or idea before us. Yes. I had to do this just last week while I was here in Grenada. There's a new product that I'm coming out with, and I had to get it copyright. I had to get it trademark. But I did not know the process, and the process is so tedious. And I ask people, how do you trademark? And nobody know. So it's not nobody know, but a lot of people did not know. Few people told me, but it was not popular to say, well, this is how you do it. So if I had to search so deep to find out about trademarking an intellectual property product, just think about everybody else who's just thinking about an idea, right? So it's important that we teach people in starting a business, it's important to own the product. Because just as much as you could work 2-3 months putting this business idea together, you put it out and someone could send you a cease and desist letter. You know, somebody take it up. And that happened to me as well. I mean, I have a lot of stories to tell. But so I've learned, and it's important that we teach that and we speak about this. Thanks for the time. Yeah.
Wow. I tell you, this thing is full of food. Full of food. You know, the gentleman who just spoke, his name is Ride Along. Well, at least that's the name I know. I don't know his other name. But I had a short discussion with him last night when I first met him. And he shared his story. And I was telling Ted this morning at the breakfast, could we not have that man tell his story? Because the half has not been told, I'm sure. Because when I listen to it, I say his story has to be deep. But he's running so many things. He's multitasking with the microphone and all of this. I hope that we get to get something from you this morning, right? But we appreciate your input on that. All right, so let's go now to Mr. Kenny Lal Singh, a gentleman, a proud rootsman in Grenada, to tell you his story. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much. I want to compliment the ministry for hosting this conference of men. You know, we have created a problem because the man was seen as the boss of the house, boss of the country, from generation. That's how the world was created. But then suddenly we decided that the women must come forward. And I have to praise the women. They came forward and they have taken the place. You know, I employ over 250 people. And the majority of my supervisors are women. And I'm begging the young men to come forward. And they're so reluctant. They're not there. Because you know what happened? The men got superiority because that's how it was laid down. You got leadership because that was there. Of course, some men created it. So I'm happy that we are trying to tilt the balance so that men and women can work together. A family that work together will always be stronger. So we must never stop what we're doing. I talk to my staff every day. How can you work together as a team? Because if you don't, we will not succeed. My life story is a very long one, you know. It'll take days for me to tell you. Right along had a few of it. You know, I go back way back, and school was never exciting to me. I wanted to use my hands. I wanted to make money. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to just live. So after secondary school, I decided I didn't want no more school. My father was annoyed with me. He said, Daddy, I want to work. I want to make money. So I started working with him. But then soon I had to leave him and just do my own thing. Of course, there's one thing that happened. Going to the horse races in Telescope and Seamoon, he gave me $1. $1 is like $100. In those days, I'm talking about 50s, 60s. But you know, 25 cents had to come back home to go in the savings in the post office, the revenue office, and the other 75 cents to buy sweetie, ice cream, and 125 cents to bet on the horse. If I win, I go back home with more. So I guess that was in me in terms of management. That was part of my life. So I started a business. By the time I was 27, I had 3 buses in Grenada. I had a disco, a musical band, and I was also doing insurance. I was selling specific insurance for homes and vehicles. As a matter of fact, I was making more money than the banker in Sates or whoever, principal. None of them were making money like me at 27. But then during the revolution, so I had a successful business up to 27 years of age. And then the revolution came, and I was locked up for 2 years. Some of you might know. So I spent 2 years in prison. And when I realized they were not letting me out, I then decided, look, I want to educate myself. Reading the Bible, playing Scrabble, holding discussions, and I started educating myself for what I missed out in school. I then decided, look, I will get out one day. So I created the name of my business. My business is Calico. Part of it is my name. So I created the name of the business. When I eventually came out after 2 years and 10 days, I registered my business. I got married, but I still didn't have an income. I had debts. And suddenly, I converted the disco to a warehouse to hold my goods, and I created a small shop in front of it in 1982. And I grew that business rapidly within 2 years. 1983 came the fall of the revolution, and then everybody thinking of elections. And every political party wanted me to run. I said, but I'm not a politician. This is not my thing. So, well, you were locked up, so you had to become a politician.
Life can't get worse.
So eventually I took up the challenge, and I ran for St. Patrick West. I won it 3 consecutive times. And I made one decision, never to close my business. So I said to my wife, look, keep this business going. I remember telling 2 former MPs, Grace Duncan from Guava and Dr. Alexis, do not close your shop, lady. I said, Dr. Alexis, do not close your office. He listened to me, we talked. He said, man, I'm not going back there, Kenny. I'm in government. I'll be there for a long time. I said, thank you, I could only give advice. But I guess I was younger than them, so they didn't listen. Eventually, I got into politics, and it was a very rough thing, but I kept my business. I kept the business going, and then I decided, look, politics is probably not the place for me. Let me grow my business. So I grew from one location in Sates with probably 20 staff, and I moved to Grenville, Gove, St. George's, and I've grown the business to be a distribution company, wholesale retail, with 4 locations, over almost 250 staff in all. But let me tell you, business is a wonderful thing, but there are a number of things that we need to know. We have to have the right attitude, and that's a problem we have. If we don't change that attitude that we have, then we have a problem. We got to work hard. You got to do a lot of hours. I do 18 hours all now at 72. You know, I get up 5 in the morning. I don't go to bed before 12. So I do a lot of hours. Speaking to people in China, India. While I was sitting there, I was talking on the phone with a man from India, trying to bring some products from there. I'm a very innovative person. I hang out with the young people. I listen to them, and I will advise them all the time. I said, let me tell you, if you don't learn to manage your life, and that's a big thing, if we don't learn to manage our lives, your life will be shattered. If you don't learn to manage your business, it will be shattered. And you have to run your business minute by minute. In 1 minute, you could lose $1,000.
Yes.
So you have to manage, and you have to keep a keen eye. As a matter of fact, sometimes you have to have eyes behind your head in business. You got to see all around, you know. So it is important, not just for the young men, but I really want to see the young men evolve. It's not happening. I talk to them every day. But it seems as though they're feeling themselves like lesser than the women. Of course, the women have been given a lot of the exposure, a lot of the support. Because, of course, the women, and we have to look at history. The women had been there in the house, making children, looking at cooking food. And so they really came out. But I'm saying to the women, it was bad before, where the men was on top and you were there. Don't let us get too far from each other. None of us, women and men, we must hold hands and work together. We must hold hands and work together. And any side trying to be brutal to each other, you will have a problem. You have to work as a team. You have to manage so that you can make it. You know, I see myself growing all the time. You know, I hope to grow my business in the next year. I'm always here for an expansion, because if I expand, I employ more people. I help the economy. I don't do manufacturing. I wish I was into manufacturing, because I see manufacturing as a thing that can really grow the economy and grow our people. But the more important thing as I close is organizers. Let us have men and women working together, staying together, creating a life together. We see these days marriage is not as it used to be. And I say nothing is wrong with that. There's marriage, there's divorce, everything is legal. I wish more marriages can take place. I love to get married. I love family life. I did it twice. I believe in family life. So, if one is not working, don't be brutal to the other. Just go your way quietly. Man, my first wife and I are best friends. We talk together all the time because we had children. You know, sometimes we believe we're the boss and we can do what we want. And this is for the men. And now you become so humble. The women are above you. That is not good. Let us go for teamwork. Let us work together and we can be stronger. Thank you very much.
I tell you, you're all getting your money's worth today. Yes, sir. So, one of the things that Mr. Kenny brought out there is that I got the impression from what he's saying, school is good. But notice what he said when at a point in time, when his gift called him, he made his decision for his gift. And sometimes we try to stick our boys to academics regardless. And sometimes we need to recognize that they might have other vocations that they need to pursue. Second thing that I noticed that he said is that manage your lives, or else it is going to be destroyed. Which brings me back to a biblical scripture in the book of Genesis where the Bible says, there was no rain on the earth and there was no plants because there was no man to grow it or till it. In other words, to manage it. Where there's no management, God does not allow growth at all. And he says, work together, which means we don't work against each other. We work along with each other, men, women, and he put on that family life. Make sure that your family life, one of the things that happens always is whenever there's a break in the family life, there's also a break in the economy of that family because you have to start all over again. You'll find that now you have to sell house, part properties, etc. But notice, he keep his ex-wife, The man does not lose assets. We open it up for questions now. Let me recognize the presence of Minister Philip Telesford for being with us. Has a heavy schedule and he's vested to make sure he comes here. Thank you so much. Yes, right along.
All right, thank you. All right, so I have a quick question to Mr. Lyle Singh in regards to employment and employees. With a business, I run a number of businesses as well, media and others. I'm starting a new technology business here in Grenada. But my business that I run in New York, media, I have about 6 people that work for me. I can't imagine having 250, right? Elon Musk has probably over 1 million people working for him. How do you manage a large quantity of employees? Maintain your sanity, because I certainly lost mine with 6, right? And still be successful as a businessman.
It's a very good question. It's a very difficult thing to do. Recognizing that our middle managers are hopeless. Very, very few can really deliver what you want. You are training them. They want to do it, but they lack the savvy to get a job done. You would notice the professor that teaches business management, he can't run any business. Can't. They could. So there's a difference between the theory and the practical. How you can make quick decision what to do. And I find our people are getting worse. You know why? Internet, telecommunication is important for business, important for everything that we do. I love it because when I go to the US, I put GPS on my phone. I can go where I want. I drive. I talk to people. Fantastic. But that has removed the human being away from the self. They're no longer in touch with each other. In my days, we made a toy every month of the year, whether it's a mango toy, a roller skate, or whatever. So there was that interaction between us, the men, the women. We shared information. And so we grow together. Now we have drifted apart. And so to answer your question more pointedly, it's a difficult thing because our young people are not learning. They're not learning the savvy. They go to school, they share information in the schools where everybody pass, nobody fail, but they didn't learn anything. That is where the problem is. So when you borrow your book in primary school, it was the best thing. But when you share, then one man thing, and everybody pass. It's like when the guy make a game and he put it on your phone, one man created that game, but everybody played it. But you don't know about the game. You're just playing it and have fun. But the thinker is the one who created it. So that's what the problem is. It's a very difficult thing to manage if you don't have the right backup supervisors, managers. So I'm having my difficulty, but I manage it.
I also have a question, Mr. Kenny Lal Singh. And this question, I think, might.
Let me just say that his honorable senator has to leave. So
Oh.
he has another engagement. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. This question, I actually wrote it down. There are two questions actually. One is this. You said that there's a mindset that we'd have to have as business people. How would you define that mindset in terms of getting over hurdles that may cause other people to fail? Right? That is one. But the real question I want to find out, this is the academic question I'm asking you. The real question I want to find out is how you just come out of jail and get married. What is the secret? Yeah, we want to know the second one first.
You know, it's the first time somebody have ever asked me that question. I sometimes take very strange decisions. I go back with my father, I take strange decisions, you know. I came out of prison and I said, you know what? Family life is a good thing. I want to go forward from here. I was a bachelor before. Let me try something new. Register my business, start a family, and build a business. And I believe in family life. So, my father left $5,000 for me. He died while I was in prison. And you know I took all of the $5,000 and get married to my wife. So even after marriage, I was broke. Broke and in debt. But then, if you see me, you'll never know I'm broke. Because I'm the happiest man. So I did it with no explanation, except to say, I believe in family life. I believe in teamwork. So I said, look, let me start it a new way. Started the first one as Kenny Lousing. This time I started it as a family. And that was my decision. Why I did it. I don't have much explanation except to say, I want to do it as a family.
Okay.
And I say it because I believe even if people don't get married, try to build teamwork. Time to build relationship. Work together. But I can't help you to say, and I always say it. The enemy of the black man is the black man. Believe it. I see them, I talk to them all the time, and I said, why are you fighting your brother? You will go and help the white man. You'll go and help the Indian. But you're fighting your own brother. You know what they say? Well, we go up together, you know, and he want to leave me and go. So I don't hold him back. Jealousy. It's a problem in the world. Was it a question? And
Oh no, the attitude that you had to have, the mindset that you had that would make where a situation that would stop normal people or ordinary people from getting ahead would cause you, for example, the reasoning that you will have that would forge yourself forward, even when other people may say it's time for me to give up. Pack it up.
well, you have to analyze what you're doing carefully. You have to sit, look at it, look at the pros and the cons. And of course, once there is a 70% chance, you can go for it. But in going for it, the strategy had to be right. The hard working has to be there. The dedication. Sometimes you have money in your pocket and you shouldn't spend it.
Right. Wow.
But many people go out and they have money in their pocket, man, and they blow it out, and the next day they're hungry. Discipline is very important.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I attend Presentation Brothers College and I'm at the Farm Full level. My name is Jilan Toussaint. So I wanted to ask, what is a good approach to starting a business and how to stay disciplined during the process? That's a
What's the last question?
No, how to stay disciplined during the process? Anyone can answer.
Okay. Well, you must like the business that you want to start. There must be a love for it. You must see everything. This man saw dishwashing and he created a love for it. I saw different things that created a love. But you must discipline yourself. You must put in place all the things necessary that the business needs. Because if you don't, you're going to have a problem. You know, just to add, the band, did I say I own a band, a musical band? You know I can't play no instrument. I must be a crazy man. But what I did, I managed the band. I managed the players. I managed the band. Sometimes they go and they play and they only get $1 or $5. I make sure I give them and I explain to them. So you have to put in place a strategy for what you want to do. You must love it. You must understand it. You must keep learning because every day is a learning process for what you are doing. And if you do it right, you can be successful.
so.
And also regard the concept of discipline, what helped me, because I don't think that I'm just naturally a disciplined person, so I had to put myself in place. I had to have mentors, I had to have accountability partners, I had to have people who helped me to be accountable. Michael Stewart, for example, is one of those people that I have used as a mentor to help me be accountable on several things, not only in terms of your money, but in terms of your time, in terms of the things you do mentally, right? Because all of these things build strength. Because one of the things that I have come to discover, success is not based on the right thing you can do. It's dependent on the right thing you can do consistently. All right? So as a result of that, that's one of the things. And for all the, especially all the young people here, remember, do it consistently. Consistently. Amen?
Yes, sir.
If I could just add again, you have to have some motivation, something inside of you driving you. For me, it was the fact that I wanted to break that kind of generational curse of poverty over my family. I was saying that after me, we mustn't have no struggle. My sons mustn't study anything. My mother used to teach one of the best educators in one of the most prominent and wealthiest schools. And because of that, we were able to go there. And she used to take the shoes from our friends and give us to wear. And from that point in time, I motivate myself that, hey, my sons must never feel what I feel by wearing this. And it drove a passion inside of me that some way, somehow, I had to break that generational curse of not owning anything, that generational curse of not comfortable, had to take a taxi to go here, had not have my own. And that was the driving force to always say, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up.
That's right.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chikal Courtney. I am happy to hear the discussion about education. Mr. Larson touched on it and the deficiencies in education, which is disadvantaging young men in terms of the lack of technical and vocational skills being taught. We know that young men are industrious, more hands-on approach, and moving forward, and I'm happy that Minister is your Minister tell us, so moving forward, I hope that as a government we can maybe do something to restructure the education system to tailor it towards assisting or having these technical and vocational studies so that more young men can be more successful, right? Question that I have, what advice would you give for young men who have ideas? And I'm asking the entire table, but more specifically to Mr. Larson, because we're looking at it from the Grenadian context. What ideas would you give to young men who have ideas for starting a business, but they have no financing and are unable to go to the institutions to get that? Do you know of any business people who are interested in funding those endeavors? And if you do, can you guide all the listeners and whoever as to where that can be received? And also, my last question is, at what stage in life should you begin retirement planning? And the reason why I'm asking that, in my field of work, social work, most of our clients who have housing challenges, financial challenges, and my clientele is 60 and over, most of them are men. So they need assistance from government for housing, for financing, medication assistance. And what we realize is that they did not plan for the older years. So especially as we have the young children here from students, what advice would you give them in terms of when should they start planning for retirement? Thanks.
Okay. I'll venture the first question. So many lending institutions have suffered by financing businesses and people are unable to pay because you see, you may have a good plan, but you don't have the discipline. You don't know how to implement it. And down the road, the business fails. A guy may be a good bus driver, making money for the owner, but you don't know how to manage a bus. So you believe, man, I'm making a lot of money for this owner. Let me buy my own bus. He get his own bus, he's making money, but he can't manage. The bank takes it back. I've always said, a good cricketer, a good batsman, may not be a good captain.
That's right.
And that is so very true. You can be an excellent basketballer, but if they put you to manage the team, you're the star on the team, but they put you to manage it, you can't. So management is a completely different thing to the other aspects of what is happening around you. You have to learn to manage. You have to discipline yourself, as we said before. You have to make sacrifice, because if you don't, the business that you got financing for can fail. And so many lending institutions have failed. People borrow for houses, for cars, for business, and they run into trouble. So you have to prepare yourself. You have to show to the lending institution that you are capable, that your plan is right, that you will make the sacrifice, that you will work hard. If you don't do that, then I'm afraid you will have problems.
Thank you. And just to add one other thing in terms of the question with regard financing the banks and that kind of thing. Again, I had alluded to it before. I would let you know, there's nobody, I think, who has been more frustrated by banks than I am. Right? I tell you the truth, I have the greatest ideas. But the thing is that banks are not sold on ideas. Banks are just simply sold on dollars and cents. We can't blame banks for that. That's how banks operate. Banks are not there to make you rich. Banks are there to make themselves rich off of you. So that means that you have to be a good investment for them. So the best secret I give to any businessman is make sure first that you are best investment for yourself. You are the one that must be able to make this project work. You all ever realize that the bank does only call you when you don't need them? That is because at the time you don't need them is when they recognize that you become a good investment, right? Other than that, time you go to a bank desperate for money, you will 10 to 1 not get it because you're already at the point of desperation. So I would just say this, and I said before, work on that prototype. Work on building that one thing that can make people want to be a part of it. Build one song. If you're a musician, just build that one song that can carry you forward. Just do that one thing and do it very, very well. That's what the world follows. The world follows people that are excellent at one thing. Right? Michael Jackson, we don't know if Michael Jackson could cook or could have cooked. We know he could have sing. We would never pay a cent to watch Michael Jackson cook. Right? Well, he dead now. But you understand the point I'm making. Right? Yeah.
If I could, I'm just going to be real quick, right? Real quick. Sorry about that. To the young man's question, I get this question a lot because I went to SAS and National Secondary School the other day. I was mentoring some kids and I was asking these questions. I think the idea is that to start a business, you have to have $1 million, right? Rather than start where you are, right? I remember starting my first business with one little camera. It was not a big camera or expensive camera or a camera or a big microphone and all the best microphone. I started it with just the basic stuff. So to start $1 million business, you don't have to have $1 million. Start where you are. The most important thing is your passion, right? As long as you could keep that passion and keep it going, you would elevate, and your business will elevate to $1 million business. Have a good idea and implement it. And yesterday I heard they said that behind every successful business behind every successful businessman is a woman. In my case, behind every successful businessman is a woman and the IRS. They after you. In my case, so you got to keep your books right. You got to keep your economics, keep your books right. Right? I just wanted to add that to his question.
If I could just jump in a little bit there. I think it's also important that we realize that the bank isn't an NGO. The bank is a business. And you know, you see so many people complaining why the bank don't understand this and why the bank don't understand that. And I think it's important for us to notice that, so you know what you're up against, not to look at them as the demonic and the evil and the diabolical. They're here as a business. And if you size them up mentally as a business, you will approach them in that way, to use them to your advantage, to set yourself up in the right way so that you could utilize what they have for your benefit. And I think we hardly ever do that. We want to go to them when we're in a situation of need, instead of going to them in a situation of posterity, when I know I have a good credit rating, when I know I have good income and I have a good cash flow. So when you go to them with a level of authority that I know you want me to invest with you because I will go down the road by the next bank. And you let them know that too. And they will continue to call you. So you size the bank up for what the bank is, a financial institution. So it's important for you from now to understand that. And I think that is why it's so important to broaden education, you understand? We don't learn money. We don't understand mortgages. We're not taught these things in school on any level. And that is why when we come out, we think the bank is like the government and you could get a subvention from them. Change that mentality immediately. The bank is a business, and you as a businessman need to do certain things to make sure that you are financeable and to make sure that they want business from you and you could get business from them.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Denson Charles. I'm a young entrepreneur, because it's not a small entrepreneur. Quick and short, just want to address the young men before I address the board. Believe in yourself. Confidence is key. I have ventured on endless amount of ventures, I should say, keep it on the same line. Business, I've tried juice selling, and it was lovely, but it wasn't doing the trick for me. I've done dance crews. Have persons that would have grown alongside me that worked at Sandals, trains in Trinidad, trains in England right now in dancing. But persons need to believe in themselves. You need to have confidence. You need to be self-motivated. Stop depending on somebody else's success to be successful as yourself, right? I started doing graphics, and nobody would never believe where I started, on a cell phone. Drawing with my finger, and now I am recognized, and I'm proud to say that I'm recognized as one of the graphics designer in Grenada, right? So you would try, it's like, okay, you're new to fruits, so you try fruits to see which one you like. And this is business. This is how you get to it. You don't just sit back and expect it to happen. No, you don't need a lot of money. As Mr. Jones said, he lost. And not just lost, he sampled. So he marketed himself, he marketed his product. So when he started selling, persons would be, oh, that is the man that used to make that. And it was good. So if I start back selling juice now, I know everybody here would buy. Because the experience, what they would have experienced from my past sales was still there at the tip of their tongue, right? So, my question I have is to Mr. Larson, right? I have everybody talking success story. I would like to know, what was you and Mr. Jones, what was one of your biggest downfall in terms of a business, in terms of embarking on becoming a businessman? And the other question I have is to Mr. Telesford. I would like to know what is in the plan for schools, not just for females, because this is a men's dating. So I want to know what is there to educate the youth that there are more to the stereotyped occupations that they are experiencing right now. Everybody wants to be doctor, nurse, lawyer, police, and there's so much. The scope is so broad that it's not even visible to them. It's like here we see in Grenada, and we're not even realizing that there's islands unless we elevate ourselves. And the mind frame needs to be opened, because I have a daughter, she's 11, she's singing, and she wants to be like me. And I'm telling her, as much as I would like for you to follow in my footsteps, I would like for you to experience something new that Grenada has not as yet touched, right? And she's very much enthusiastic as to find out what it is that she can embark on. That can make a change, not just for her or for me, but for Grenada. Thank you.
You will always have disaster in your life. I had one major investment, and I probably lost about $2 million. I opened a store in the Lagoon Road GCNA building, 2010, and people still talk about the store, the concept of it. The economy was bad, the location was not the best, the building was not designed for what I ventured into, and GCNA was not flexible. If they had only reduced the rent, I could have managed and stayed. But I had to take the difficult choice of shutting it down. Overall, my losses was $2 million. So that's one big area. They have small ones here and there. You probably bring an item into Grenada and it never take off, and you have to sell it below cost. And you call that gain your first loss, you know? So these things happen. Then I had a fire in 2018. Not of my doing, but the building was gutted with fire. Again, I lost about $3 million. And up to today, the insurance haven't paid me. We are in court. So I do have my disaster. Sometimes I wonder how I get out of it. But I can still say, stay firm, manage what you do, hard work, sacrifice, and you get out of it. So these have been my areas of disasters.
Well, we are among brothers here, so this one will touch a nerve. I am, just like Brother Charles, pretty much relatively young businessman, although I started the chemicals at a young age, but in terms of converting that skill into business, it was pretty recent, you know, and the growth was a pretty tremendous growth. We were just at the cusp of export out of the island of Tobago when, I guess, in the Bible they talk about that Job moment, when everything went wrong, when every single thing that can go wrong to a businessman went wrong. And that is actually one of the things that hit me. How do you recover from that? Sometimes it's only God alone can help, right? I had a major investor who decided that they were no longer going to go forward with me. I had a major distributor who had failed miserably and left me in tremendous debt that I couldn't imagine somebody who is so young in business could have. I was also at the same time, due to the fact that I had to let go some workers. One of the workers who insisted that she should not be let go decided that she's going to get what she can get and decided to accuse me of sexual harassment in the workplace. I had to end up finding that, which was, of course, going to be an impact to my own family personally and all of that. So those things really crushed me. But at the same time, I really want to thank God for that He immediately sent people. I've always been covered, always, by the very best of friends. You know, so that helped me. My boy on my right, my boy on my left, my boy on my right, the red woman in the middle there, everybody. Right? Who has, yeah, who really just galvanized and saw things in me that I couldn't see in myself. They still have to try to remind me, you know, and, you know, there's this statement about this Greek leader that used to have people that used to go around because of he was so powerful. He had people whose job it was to just say, you're just a man. You're just a man. I have people that need to go around and just tell me, you can do great things. You can beat this. You can. So as a result of that, I'm really on the ascendancy, and I really want to thank God for the people that are around.
Thank you very much. All right. So, I mean, it has been a great first segment, and there are so many questions. I know we have some gentlemen lined up here. I beg them to allow us to make the break so that we can go quickly, and I know the media waiting on the minister also to chat with you, and then we'll come back. please don't stay long at the break because we'll start back. But we'll start back with questions, and these two gentlemen will be the first ones to be able to ask the questions, and then we're going to have Rondell to make his presentation. No, you're not. No, we are no boss here.
So let me just answer the question that was posed by nice. So the government of Grenada is embarking on skill training to be implemented at all schools, far and wide as possible, because fundamentally we believe that every child must learn a skill, at least one skill. And hopefully, that child will be able to follow that passion, having developed that skill, and maybe get into some kind of business or further education and just follow that passion. So generally, the focus of government this time around will be heavily skill-driven, notwithstanding that the education, the academics will continue to be what it is, the focal point, mainstream education, but skill training will become a fundamental part of the education curriculum moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, housekeeping. The break is right at the back, so therefore we don't go far. The washrooms just down the stairs, you got come out here, and when you are finished, you leave the cups, I think, at just, is it at the back or just outside? Just outside. You could leave it there so that when they come in to take it up, they wouldn't disturb us. So which means we're not going to have the protracted break that we envisioned. So we could start back faster than we thought. So just go to your bathroom, collect your stuff, and just bring it back here, sit down, and we'll eat and drink while we continue. Is that all right? Okay then, nicely. We're making good time. Thank you very much. Glad, I'm so happy to see so many of you back already and seated. That's the advantage of men. Our bathroom breaks are usually very short. So we don't have the protracted period of time that we are out. All right. We've had a wonderful session so far, not so? My goodness, these guys have a story. When you hear somebody's story, it's different from hearing an advice. Hearing their story, these people have walked the path. I think it was John Maxwell who said, you have the travel agent kind of person who tells you about going places where they've never gone. You know, if you go to a travel agent, you can buy a ticket to a country that the travel agent has never visited. But he says, try to be a tour guide, because a tour guide always takes you where he's been before. So when these guys are talking to us, they are tour guides. They are taking us where they have been. So therefore, we know it is authentic, and we appreciate that. All right, so we did promise. We had two gentlemen lined up. I'm seeing one. Where's the second one? Aha. All right. And so where's the young man who, there's a young man that you're going to respond to. I want to make sure is he here? Mr. Courtney. All right, nicely. All right, so we'll take you first, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I want to make a couple comments. I want to address Mr. Courtney first and his question about capital, right, sir? Because of course, you go to the bank and you don't have experience behind you, you don't get anything, right? Young men, gentlemen in the room, it doesn't take a bank loan to start your business. I have in my hand here, last year I was asked to be the facilitator for some life skill sessions in St. Andrews with a group of boys that was in the Empower program. And after teaching life skills, we taught business. And it came up too. Well, how do I get fund? How do I? So I look at one boy and I said to him, wait, how much for that pair of sneakers you wearing there? He was wearing Jordans. And I know what a Jordan costs in Toronto, right? Well, what do you really want? Do you want a business or do you want to look good? Which is it, right? And so we got to teach our young men how to appreciate, right? That a plant, a giant mango tree didn't start like a mango tree. It's like a seed, right? And so we have things that we could use to get ourselves up and running. Ladies and gentlemen, when I started as a speaker, I have spoken around the world. What was my problem? My big mouth was my liability in school. And a teacher grabbed me in my collarbone in Methodist school and flung me outside and said, boy, you're big mouth, somebody's going to kill you or go to jail. She's dead today. I'm alive. Right? You too, right? George, I know you, by the way. Paraclete boy, okay? So it starts small. You have a dream, right? Where did I start speaking? I started hosting people's wedding reception and cracking them up with jokes. Today I speak internationally. It starts small and grows, right? So young men, You can't get a loan, but you're spending money like crazy. You have the best phone. You want iPhone. That money could go towards your business. If you are serious, that money could go towards your weed eater. I have a young man right now in Grenada who bought one weed eater. I helped him, by the way. He has a landscaping company now. Okay? He worked one weed eater into a next weed eater. There were times I had to wake him in the morning because he's up playing PUBG in the morning or Free Fire. And I said, what's going on? You got to cut my yard. That's the point we are making here. And that's the point that the minister made. But the minister's point was incomplete. No, he was incomplete. And I'm not here to blame nobody, but I'm here to say as it is, right? You know me by now, right? Ladies and gentlemen, TVET education is good. But if you teach a young man how to build a cabinet, but you don't teach him life skills, and his attitude is bad, and he come in my house to build a cabinet, and I have to keep looking at him because he might thief my money, right? So we have to get him ready, minister. Life skills have to be number one. And then you teach them a skill, and they know how to manage themselves. So quickly, that was about you, right? Personal saving, young men. Use a cheaper phone. Wear no brand shoes. There's Nike Air for $400, and there's Air for $69. No, and go to the graphic guy, and they'll bring you shoes. He go put a Nike on it for you, right? So personal saving, fundraising. When you have a really good mission, people will give to you. Hey, people are putting up all kind of stuff on the internet now, GoFundMe. And they only get funded if the story is good, if the story is authentic. So why not do a GoFundMe page too? And tell people about your dream and put pictures of what you've done before. You might collect something too. That could go towards your weed eater. All right, solicitation. I heard one gentleman say about selling juice. And you could do that too. Ladies and gentlemen, I went to Carriacou to work, and before the transport picked me up, I stood there, minister, under an almond tree with a stone in my hand. They see Dr. Chaitan by the road with a stone in his hand, cracking almonds and eating. And I said to myself, oh my God, I could fill a bottle with this thing, put a cover in it. As a tourist man come, I put in spice gourmet nuts in it, and I sell it for $25. It's right there. You don't pay for it. My friend, it's not the money, it's the genius in you and how badly you want it. So solicitation, right? You with me, right? Liquidation of assets. And young people, you may not be able to access a GIDC fund or grant. But you know some old lady in the community or some old man, some returning national. Hey, if you come and help me in my house, I'm a returning national. I might like you. I might leave something in the will for you. God bless you, everybody.
It's a pleasant good morning to men and women here. Especially, I'm happy to see that we have a lot of school children in our midst. You know, it's always good that the younger ones be around the older ones, and we can permeate some good skills and good lessons into them. And I want to start by saying this. I firmly believe in education, as the minister would know. I often see that a man without education has not become a man yet. He needs education. And we spoke yesterday a bit about it, but I want to drive a point home as we hear on business. If we want to teach our young men to become adult, prosperous men in our society, they need to start young. Now, the minister started it. Dr. Chaitan do the intermediate leg. I want to bring it home. When we're starting from preschool, they have blocks. They have they go sightseeing. They go visiting different things. They touch They incorporate the senses into everyday life. That's the foundation. How do we build on that going forward? When do we start the life skills that Dr. Chaitan spoke about? We can't start when they're 11, 12, 13. That's too late. We can't start. That's too late. So from the preschool come up into the formal education when they start primary school, which is compulsory at the age of 5. You know, we talked yesterday about the health diving for men after 5. Right? We don't want it to dive. So at the age of 5, when they enter formative schooling, let us start the life skills there and then. And along with that, start the vocational skills training. What is wrong with teaching a 5 or 6 year old skills? Nothing wrong with that. So by the time they're 10, 11, and you ask them, what do you want to do in life? They have choices. You don't have to be academic. You could be vocational as well. They have choices. So by the time they get into secondary school, all what you're going to be improving on is what the basics that they have already. So the basic plumbing, the basic woodwork, the basic technical drawing. Start at an early age. We're starting too late to invest in our children.
Sorry, I just wanted to just put a point to what you're saying just there, please. And the reason is that it's so important. It at 5 and 6 years old, they are also supposed to learn some of the basic academics, right? But what has happened is where I think the school system has failed is that the way the boys at that age would learn the academics they need to learn is by more engagement. It is not by necessarily sitting down as, for example, a 6-year-old girl might find herself being able to sit more still. A boy may not be able to do that or is tending to not do that. So we have to find a way at that age. So even the vocational stuff, because we still need boys to be engineers, we still need boys to be pilots, which would require, of course, a high academic acumen. However, what we want is to be able to address the mindset of the educators so that our boys can be maximized at that young age.
That was my next point.
Thank you, sir.
Let me stop here again and go a little further than the 5-year-old as well. Yes, I understand the education sector has a responsibility, and as I said myself, it must involve some kind of life skill, particularly financial management, these kind of things. But these lessons are being taught in the homes of many who know these lessons to teach to their children. I'm certain he taught his children everything. By the time my sons were 5, they could tell you where I get cars from, what type of car it is, what size of engine inside of it, because it became something that you put inside of them. So parents also have a responsibility to start that lesson.
To all the jumping ahead of me, man.
Well, that is it.
Yes. So, and that's my second point was this. Men and women, boys and girls, don't learn the same way. It has been proven. The amount of papers that have been written on that is too much to even start to count. We don't learn the same age, at the same age, or at the same rate. Young ladies and teachers will tell you that they settle quicker at the start of a semester, at the start of school. They mature faster at a younger age than boys. And boys tend to want to run about and want to do all kind of things. And what we have not done is harness that energy into the education. Right. And I think that is what my brother has been saying there. You have to harness and teach our educators, look, before a little child running around these days, they come and say, yes, restless leg syndrome, and you always want to move, your ADHD and so forth. Nowadays, he didn't have that. We channel his energy into cutting grass, getting a ram goat, and something else to do. And after a while, you realize he settles down. So we have to not forget the past, but incorporate all those things into our educational system to teach our young ones to get them up to speed quicker or diversify their future in terms of what can be done. And thirdly, as you were saying, so home is important. The family is important. And as a pillar of positive transformation, you need the family. And so that's why yesterday I was talking about the churches getting involved, the community groups getting involved, getting people to understand within the community that, look, for our young ones to grow, we can't expect the government to do everything. We need the schools, we need the community groups, we need the churches holistically to come on board to help us. One question I have, and I'm going to leave with this. As businessmen, what attributes or characteristics can you take from the business part of your life and to put it in forming a family going forward? Thank you.
No, I hope they didn't take my answer. Huh?
Go first, go first.
No, but I would say a lot of what Mr. Kenny Lal sings, so I taking his answer actually. But it gives you a sense of a teamwork, that everybody is a team player, that the value of everybody is important. I'm in a separated relationship. My sons, at the end of the day, they have different mothers, first of all, just two. That's the next story. But at the end of the day, I have had to keep the relationships with them good so that my sons could have a close, intimate relationship, because I understand that they are my heirs, and I understand the relevance and importance for that teamwork and partnership. So it is important for me to have a good co-parental relationship, even with their mothers. God forbid something happens to me. When it's passed to them, their mothers may have authority over it until they reach of age. So I understand having everybody within the same network, even though we may not be in romantic relationships, is critical and important. So keeping that family spirit, even though that is not my wife, but it is my son's mother. And it is a good position for me, my sons, and their mothers for us to be in a good, healthy space, and it will benefit my business in the long run, and which will be actually theirs.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we have our final speaker. He has been waiting in the wings for quite a while. He will bring the ship down to land in the airport. All right? It's an airship.
I like that one.
You see, when you have ladies in the audience. All right. So, Mr. Randall Fields, we welcome you.
Yes, man. Good afternoon. Yeah, morning again, everyone. Well, similarly to Mr. Kenny Lal Singh, I was a young boy, and that's why you see when I see those young boys there in the school uniform, it does really, really touch me. I was a young boy from a single father home, as I said. My mother always put good value in me, but, you know, yesterday, at times, I was never a foolish child or a dunce child. I just didn't like school. I just didn't like it. You understand? It big for nothing. And at the end of the day, and I think it's because I didn't totally understand it. I was looking at trigonometry, a periodic table, and wondering to myself, what in the world am I going to do with this after? Where would I ever use it in my life again? And to be quite honest, I had really liked home economics, but my mother was an educator, common entrance teacher, one of the best in the country. And academia was a high thing on her charts. And then I had an older brother who was excellent. I always say he's the brightest man in the world right now, because he was a high achiever. He went to one of the best schools. He got best in the island and this in CXC, making things hard for my life. So I understood the challenges that I had, but school just wasn't paying it for me. I was always a fighter here, going to school. I guess suspended 3 times. I guess suspended the 4th time. Well, it wasn't suspension. They call it indefinite suspension, meaning that don't come back to school until you write CXC. And my teachers, some of them would say, well, boy, you ain't going to turn out to be nothing good. But I had one teacher, boy. I don't know what's wrong with this woman. She just saw something good in me. No matter how bad I tried to behave to change the woman's mind, she saw something good in me. And, yeah, boy. But I said all that to say this. I would have done CXC. And in the back of my mind, I was a very good basketballer. Still good, eh? And don't feel it change. But, no. But, as I said, in the school and the school promoted, boy, go and play basketball, this, you'll get college, that. So I really leave the books aside and I was focusing on basketball. I had the competence to do well at school academically, yeah, if I had really tried. But I just didn't assert myself. And I knew I didn't assert myself. It wasn't my main focus. Being popular and them kind of thing was what I was interested in at the point in time. And when I wrote CXC, you know, at that time in your mind, you still thinking, but I will mash up CXC still. Because I know I good and I bright. Even though you know you're studying, you know you're not applying yourself, you know you're not going in the class, you're breaking class, you're outside, you're doing everything that not going to lead you to achieve your goal. But in the back of your mind, and I had to blame, is the devil in?
Yes.
Yes, it's he. Telling you that here what's going on. I will still do well, even though I have done nothing to achieve that. And God is a fair God. So, I'll tell you, I didn't do good at all. I got some trees on the inside there, but in my mother, correct, that is it, because they now make tree a pass. So I am carrying a forest of my mother to see, who is a prime educator. And I remember going on in the maxi taxi that day, boy. I really broken, eh? I didn't even want to see a basketball in that maxi. And a man tell me, small man, how you looking so? I say, boy, I have a set of trees there. I go and show my mother. I know she wouldn't be pleased. I really let she down. I don't know what she will do. And I put on my head. And he said, let me tell you something before you go. Ask yourself what you're going to do about it now. And he walk out the maxi. I never see the man again in my life after that. I went home. I took the spiritual beating that I received home about not doing this and not doing that and not doing this. But however, my mother was still a woman that encouraged me still. She knew I didn't apply myself. And she tell you, if you didn't work fit, what you expect to achieve? You get exactly what you work towards. I still didn't like school, eh? But I told myself to lift my confidence. I go in and write over CXC just off a bad mind. I'm not going back to school to write it because I still don't like school. And I started to sell CDs at that point in time. Those days, that was 2000. I was 16 at the point in time. I started to burn CDs and sell it. Those days, my days, there was a thing called Napster. So you download it, and it's a 2x burner, so you're burning one CD in one day. So I sit down on my brother's computer, burning the CD, and started selling those CDs to pay for myself to go back to lessons, to pass the subjects. So one thing after the next, keep burning CDs, selling, burning CDs, burning CDs, selling. In the year 2000, the government, Basdio Pandey, introduced something called the roll-on, roll-off industry. At the time, the bamboo was very popular. Knock down, cut up car, bring and license it. That was the goal. But they was having a problem because one, people thieving car in Japan and bringing it and mounting it up together. And then when they talk about the safety of the car, cars were splitting and these kind of things when they get into accidents. So they said in order to circumvent that, let's introduce the roll-on, roll-off. The roll-on, roll-off is when the car comes complete, comes on a vessel and drives off of the vehicle, off of the boat, off of the vessel. And I had, at that point, one opportunity and one advantage. And I remember what that man said, what you're going to do about it. And my uncle came to me at that point in time. Not really my uncle, just a man around that I used to see. And he used to say, boy, don't work for nobody. And he had trucks. And he was a WASA contractor. And I see him drive. And he looked like me. He was of my race too. And I seen him doing good. And people were saying good. So I always in the back of my mind had him as a mentor without telling him that he was mentoring me. And at that point in time, he said, hey, what's going on? He said, I want to bring 4 of them roll-on, roll-off cars that I hear Bazio Pandey say. He said, you could bring it? I don't have a clue what to do. I said, of course I can. Because at the time, the advantage that I had, and this is why technological advancement is so good, even for this new generation, as it has advanced more. Internet was a new thing, dial-up internet. Going on the internet, surfing the internet was a new thing. Search engines in those days wasn't Google, it was Ask Jeeves. You understand? Yeah, and at that point in time, because I could have maneuvered the internet with just being self-taught, burning CDs, I was able to go and ask Jeeves and punch in Japanese used car exporter. Boom. And a list of them came up. At that point in time, I had no capital, but I had a good offer. My uncle was bringing, I still calling him uncle. My uncle was bringing the customer. My uncle was the one going to maneuver that part of it, and I just needed to find the vehicle. I went to the Ministry of Trade, find out everything I need to do. What is the permission I need to do it? And I got myself involved in importation. At that time, you couldn't bring it on a capacity like a dealership. It was new, so you had to bring it on personal import. So you had to have the customer, and either one or two things. They had to trust you to give you the money in their hand, or you had to have somebody who could do it for you. At 16 years old, the first 4 people could imagine not going and trust no little boy in the bedroom. So my uncle was the one that brought them, the first 4 persons. So I knew to myself, and I don't know, I just think back now and wonder if I had that level of intelligence, if something natural was just there to know that this is your last opportunity and make sure you do good by it. I also only now realize that because I marketed those CDs so well, I developed some level of financial management skill. Because I understood the value of taking out the profit, then using the capital I had before and reinvesting in the next set of CDs to get burnt again. I understood that experience taught me some financial management skill. Even when I made a bad investment and I buy the wrong brand of CD, all these things was teaching me these things. I never learned it in school. Nobody never tell me do this. I didn't even do business in school. I might have failed it if I did do it too, to be quite honest. Correct. And the first 4 customers after that transaction were so impressed with the manner how I handled it. I took the opening account, I was too young. My mother had to open it with me at the age of 16 years. I had a joint account with her. And they gave the money with my uncle being there to me. And I understood the value of the person's investment in me. And I was totally financially responsible with it. I used their money to do the transaction, and in the end of it all, my little strategy was say, hey, what, suffer now, and when the balance of money come, you will get the profit for yourself, brother. And I did that bit by bit by bit until I created a capital. By the time I created a capital, the industry had now evolved to pack up in your yard, bring the cars in that way, and they had now banned the foreign use, the knockdown section. So you had to do that. So by the age of 17, I already had my business in a place already. By the age of 17, I had my own car already. By the age of 17, I already had a goal. I used to tell myself at 17 here what? I want a house. I want a van. I don't know why, because I still never buy it. I want a house, I want a van, and I want a car. Setting a goal to the next marker to me, which was 30. And before I get to there, I was able to accomplish a lot more than what I did set that goal for. I started to see the value of a certain short-term goals that are achievable. Not shooting high in the sky and I want $1 million to take, but making them small where no could hit them, because it just wasn't about getting money, you know. You see that self-gratification, that joy, hey, I do it. And the first time I got that feeling wasn't from selling the first car, you know. It was from saving my first $3,000 from burning CDs. When I walk in that bank and I get a bank receipt with that $3,000, you could have 200,000. I ain't care. I come outside feeling so good. I had the most money in the world, and I think when you see I walk, I rest it on the table so with that $3,000 because I did that. That is the thing. I did that. Over the years, as it passed, at the age of 26, I was then appointed the vice president of the entire Foreign News Association in Trinidad and Tobago, where we would have advocated for so much. Maybe we could advocate for some here now in front of the minister, where right now in Trinidad and Tobago, exemptions are free on hybrid and electric vehicles because we understand that there's a transition now, moving away from fossil fuel for a number of reasons. You understand? Over the years, we'd have fought for sometimes the reduction of importation, the increase of importation ages rather, so that cars could be more affordable for those who couldn't afford it, because that was the reason for why it was introduced. So it gave me something to socially even fight for, because in my mind, I knew I grew up traveling my whole life because my mother would have never been able to buy a brand new car. And it was for the introduction of that. And keeping that alive to me was important, not just for the sustenance of my business, but also for opportunity to be created for the poor man. So it struck home to me because I was where the poor man was. From there, I have been able to invest in other things. Trinidad's economy, I wouldn't say, is the best right now. Everybody know we have a USD issue, a USD problem. I would have understood the value of now diversifying into other sectors as well. I have done construction, and the nice part about it, I want to get a construction story. I was introduced into that construction thing with my father. HGC was giving contracts. And as just like him, having a band, I don't know nothing about building house at all. But my father had workers at the point in time. My father and I had a disagreement, something I've forgiven for, so I wouldn't rehash it right now. But I was able then to take control of it. Humility is a big part of this work. I remember humbling myself just to get an understanding and a feel for the construction business. And I went and worked as a laborer while I was the boss. To understand what needs to happen, what mortar is, sand and cement versus what concrete is. To get an intimate relationship with the workmen themselves. To get a feel for the industry itself. And one thing I'd always do is that anything I would have gotten involved in, and you could take this away as a point, is that I always try to bleed the vein in that industry. So I was building house. I went and buy a block machine. I went and signed up with TCL and started to sell cement too, because I had to get blocks. So I making blocks, and I working in the men making blocks at the point in time. See, sometimes people just see it now, but they don't know the labor you went through, you know. I making blocks with them fellas. And when it's done, we going down and I working on the job site with them fellas down there too. In the car industry, talking about bleeding the vein. If I importing cars, I wouldn't rent the cars too. I wouldn't bring taxi service too. Bleed the vein. It is critical and important. When you're diversifying, it's good, but sometimes you diversify in one area. Your strong point, you have a strong point. I'm not saying unless you have the capital base, you can't. And you jump to an extreme different part for your second diversification. What has worked for me is that I going to diversify in where I have a strong point. As close to home as possible until the next good opportunity presents itself. And I want to address the question the young man had asked about retirement and years to come, how we could encourage people to do that. And I think through all this discussion, we've answered that. Financial management. You care from now, schoolboys, be talking about YOLO, you only have one life to live, or what is it called? Something. And you're opening bottles, popping bottles. All that is money you throwing away. Once you aspire and bring worth and value to yourself, it's not what you buy, Anything you put on, you will be valuable. You feel I walking in a store and pay $2,000 for a Jordan, and I could go Rattans and pay $500, and because Fields have it on, the Field is the one for $2,000. You don't understand how we just think. My son sit and tell me that. He said, Daddy, I realize my mommy does buy anything I ask. He said, you? Different story. And he understand why too. You don't have nothing to prove to anybody. Nothing to prove to anybody. I always say there's a financial power in contentment. Always remember that. Financial power in contentment. It's keep you sometimes from over-investing sometimes. Or jumping out too wild sometimes. It's keep you in check. It's keep you from also, some people sometimes, and I've seen some investors do it, just invest because it's a popular thing to do. You want to show you could do it. Them things are not hitting me because I'm not going to go behind everything just because somebody else. I have nothing to show to nobody. I always tell people the man I in competition with is the last version of myself the year before. And once you build them kind of mental thoughts in your mind, and you keep relevant, you keep innovative, you will always prosper, you'll always do far. I have now started to invest in Airbnbs across the world because I realize in Trinidad to earn our forex, our dollars right now, really not strong anywhere else. So what would your innovative mind tell you? Is that you now need to earn forex. Not so? So that you are relevant on a global scale. I also am not too big to learn. I'm 39. I'm not too big to learn. So I have found, but the thing is I just don't listen to anybody. So you ain't going and see me looking on them forex trader, this, that, the other, that. No way. I look at those persons I've seen work do the talking for them. Businesses do the talking for them. So I have delved into the biography of Anthony Sabga. I always say, if his children know the contents of that book, they'll take it off the market. Because he speaks about where he started as well. Similar to many of us. He didn't go to school, shopkeeper, and how he built himself, how he got into distribution. And he's all over the Caribbean now. At every stage, you want to go higher. So if I, at this point, want to know, well, hey, how do I become a conglomerate? Not because I am doing well, I can listen to Kenny Lal sing. I listen to everything he say, talk more, huh? You understand? But that is it. That is what it's about. You get that experience and that wealth and knowledge from when you hear the older ones speak. So always be and remain teachable. Always work hard. Never give up. And you will reach there. I don't want to hear you come from a single mother. I come from a single mother house. I don't want to hear you no passes. I didn't have none. I went back and get the passes. And you know when I get my degree? When I was a full-fledged businessman. I went back and get my degree in law only to say I have a degree. So that when I come in things like this, Michael could say he has a bachelor's law degree, blah, 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 blah. I hated the experience getting it. But it's serving the purpose I went for it for. Because I know what people love to hear. It makes me more marketable when you hear them say that. When I had all the knowledge I had without that degree, it's helped me no way at all. But you love to hear it when they say it. So, good.
All right.
Very good.
So, Randall was supposed to bring us into the airport, but I think he overshoot the runway. Yeah. Let me tell you, he's full. He's pregnant with information. So we need to let him give birth. All right, yes. Gentleman with the question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Um, my, my name is Aaron. I'm the owner of Paradise, which is a fairly new business that we have launched. But before I go into all of that, just want to comment on what you said recently. You said, when the person told you what you're going to do about it, no. I get goosebumps. I ain't like to tell you, I get goosebumps. Why? Because I don't have much time to go into details, but I could relate to it, and I feel like everybody inside here could probably relate to it in some way or form. You said something that made me want to ask a question. But before I go into all of that, in my short time operating and networking with persons, a lot of the guys that I talk to, they always speak about mentorship, something they wish that they had. Somebody to hold them accountable, somebody to tell them, keep them in check, say, nah, this shouldn't be a decision you're making. This wouldn't look good for your image as a person or individual. And I say all this to say, like, when I got the email for this here, immediately I clear my schedule. Say, okay, I'm coming. I am coming to this because I understand the importance of educating individuals, and because I'm around a lot of males, I could use what I learn here and pass on that information if they can't make it. Right? No. Moving on to my questions. In pursuing collaborative efforts, how do you combat critical information being leaked? And this is for everybody on board. How do you combat critical information being leaked or members of your team doing counterproductive decisions? Because imagine, Judas was a treasurer. Really that day. Second question would be, how would you implement protective measures and strategies to avoid offending the members of your team? Because the offense is one of the reasons I've seen a lot of people walk away from jobs, and they were very vital to the companies. And lastly, but not least, in the slight chance that the betrayal does happen, how do you move on from such a betrayal? Yeah, because I've dealt with people that if they can't captain the ship, they just sink it. That's it.
All right. From my I'll just say from my personal experience, well, what I use at this point, based on my business, there are certain things, as I said, that I consider intellectual property, or certain things that I consider that I cannot disclose for particular reasons, certain strategies that I may not. Once it isn't in the person's function, or they don't really need to know it, there's sometimes I won't disclose it unless you need to know it. Then you open up yourself to it anyway. So it's not just letting everything out. If you understand what I say, have some kind of checkpoints, have some kind of stop gaps, have some type of limitation, some boundaries. They say, hey, you don't need to know that. You don't need to do this. What I would do at times even, and most of my employees are family members, right? And it's because I've gotten that sense. In my business, we don't need 200 people. And it's family members for a reason. Not just that I feel a more sense of security only, but also I want it to be a family-grown business. I want everybody to be connected to it. My brother, his wife, my children, his children, to have an understanding. To us, this business is our saving device. You understand? So everybody must have that feeling, because no man is an island. Any of us could fall along at any time. So you want them to have that intimate connection to that. And I see that with them. I couldn't be here if they weren't there. So no man will walk away from his business unless he is confident that those people care about his business too. And that is the feeling they give me. And every video we do, if we're advertising, I say it publicly. I call the names publicly. Give them a big up publicly. Shine them up publicly. And the adoration they get even from the customers is so uplifting for them. If the bank, what I do, I always incentivize them as well. You understand? Sometimes in the banks, when they give you a loan, they will pay the company a commission. I give that to the salesperson. I give that to my brother's wife because she is the one. And trust me, that has incentivized her to sell car like you're going mad. You understand? A $500 go do what for me again? But I know what I could do for her. Correct. And the thing is, what they will say as well, I will try to uplift them. So even I told you all about the Airbnbs. First of all, so because of the little experience I have in construction that I got and the team that I was able to keep from since then, I don't buy house and let nobody build house to me. That does vex with me. It's them to let he do it. But they do it, right? And even them, Ted will always tell you when we met with them last, I always encourage them to be better. Open a bank account, your business registered. Teach the man who's the contractor, who's possibly one of the best they are. Send bank payments. Let the bank see cash flows. Let the money come into your account. Because you don't see that from those guys, construction men, tile men, plumbers. They don't have that sense of understanding. They just going out there, monetize the skill for themselves day to day. And before the end of the month, they're broken again. But if you sit them down and you explain certain things to them, explain what the banking system is to them, you understand? And they understand how the challenges they could make and how they could beat it, they will. And that is why I tell all you, stop thinking the bank is an NGO. You have to align yourself in a particular way to approach them. And once you've aligned yourself in that way and they know who approaching them, then they're going to say, hey, what, this is a good customer. They want your business, you know. Once it's worth wanting, you have to have the same financial management skill and the disciplines to do that. And the last one, what you said there was good if somebody betray you. And it hit home because, and that's why, when Ted was saying, I agreed with him when he said, hey, I don't know who you're mentoring and you don't waste time on mentoring certain persons. There's a particular person I hold close as if he was my son because I knew him from small. And I spent time with him, I developed, I put in him, I invested in him financially. And he let me down. But what I could do, at first I was angry because I knew him from so small. And I wasn't angry with him, you know, because of what he did, you know. It is because what I know he could have become. That is what got me vexed with him. That is why I still vexed with him. But I could never hate him. And it is still in my good hopes that sense will come. And I'm certain sense will come. Sense must be done reach him already. So I think you have to still treat the person with love. It's hard to do. You have to forgive them. If it is necessary, however, you must make part with them. Part away. If you know they are now a danger to your business and to your own existence of your business, you have to walk away. Walk away with the least bad mind that you could. I done, Michael.
Wow. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Let's give them a round of applause again. All right. So it would seem as though we started 45 minutes late and we are only 15 minutes late now in ending. So we made up on some time. Yeah, we made up on some time. So because we're now due for lunch. I hope they're ready. All right, because if we go down there after we done cut this thing and they're ready, you know, all of them fellas here go get vexed. You wanted to say a few words? I don't know if the minister also wants the opportunity to say a few words before we wrap up. So you want to go first, and then if anything, we hand it over to Minister.
All right, so afternoon again, everybody. Not really remarks, but in terms of our activity this evening, which is the visits to the various institutions, I want persons to know who the different team leads are in relation to that. So we have Group 1, who will be going to His Majesty's Prison and the Father Maligan Home for Boys, and that group is being led by Mr. Ryan Telesford, Mr. Ryan Telesford, please stand so that the persons can see who you are. Right? He will also be assisted by Mr. Orlando Adams, who is on his way. So persons in that group, you know who that person is, right? Group 2, who will be going to the Mongay Psychiatric Hospital and the General Hospital. And that group is being led by Mr. Chikal Courtney and Mr. Keeson Ferguson. So gentlemen, stand so that the persons that are in that group can see you. And our third group will be visiting the Grand Bacolet Juvenile Treatment and Rehabilitation Center, and that group is led